Hello guys, Elita Legionarii here, and today I am bringing you a 2vs2 31k for Rome Total War. Now, this battle was meant to be a 3vs3, but as you can see in the background over there, Heavens Muhammad, he had to leave, something came up, he had to leave, so he admitted defeat, and our ally in the back here, the Legionarii-Brutii Romans, Imperator of Rome, he didn't have to leave, but he admitted defeat because Mo admitted defeat. That way it became a 2v2, so it's me with the Brutii Romans, Polish Legion of Heaven Clan with the Scipii Romans, Paladinbob with the Senate, and Vet from the Brotherhood Clan with the Senate also. So, it was originally meant to be a 3v3, but it's a 2v2 for those circumstances. Just one moment here. Just going to turn the music down. Sound effects down a bit too. It's pretty good, yeah. Now, just before I start too, obviously everyone's aware of this by now, but basically what Rome and Medieval 2 got an update so that they are now compatible to the Steam multiplayer server, which in my opinion is fantastic. It'll be much better than the GameSpy server. However, there was a bit of one little problem or little disappointment I encountered, was that because they updated the game to a new multiplayer server, all the replays were no longer compatible because they were done on the original GameSpy server, and when the update came along they weren't compatible, so every time I watched my replays I noticed that they were corrupt basically, and they didn't play back the way they actually went, which was disappointing because I had a lot of really good replays sitting in my replay folder, and I wasn't hugely disappointed because the way I looked at it was, well, by changing the server over we're going to be able to continue to play Rome Total War, whereas if they didn't change it over we would have lost it forever. So although it was disappointing, I think the good news far outweighed the bad. But I kind of got my head together and I was thinking, is there any way I can save this? And then I kind of thought to myself, I'd been talking to some of the other guys I play with, and some of them have got the disc version of Rome Total War, and I do have the disc version. I just use the Steam version because I like it more. It's just more practical and easier than the disc version. But they told me that the disc version, if it's not updated onto the Steam stuff, the Steam version, it still works with GameSpy as long as GameSpy is running. So theoretically it would still play the replays the way they originally appeared because they were on the old version, just like this disc version. So what I did is I installed my disc version, and then I transferred all my 31k replays from my Steam versions replay folder and put them into my disc versions folder because the disc version's still on the old version. I know this is all kind of probably getting complicated, but basically what it means is I can still re-upload all my old replays if I just run it through the disc version. So basically means I can still do all my replays even though ordinarily I would have lost them. So sorry for that long-winded response, but that was just something I wanted to point out. Anyway, I'm using a bit of an experimental build. I have 17 urban cohorts, 1 legionary first cohort, and 2 Praetorians. So I've got a very large infantry army. Now usually large infantry builds are disadvantaged. However, there is see how I've got this unit formed. I'll just pause again. If you look at it, I've got it formed in a checkerboard style formation, so there's lots of little kind of gaps and stuff in between the units. Now, the way I like to use this formation is I usually have these peeler screens on guard mode, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, about these first 5 units on regular formation, then all the rest behind them in guard mode as well, so that when the enemy cav comes charging through, and because I have so few cav in comparison, I'm not going to be able to beat them in a counter charge, my units are in guard mode, which means they'll hold, and because of all these little holes in the checkerboard style formation, the cav gets stuck in them, or the enemy cav can get stuck in them, and then you can put peeler into them and then counter charge, and with guard mode on, your infantry holds longer. So that's how you can use the much larger infantry build and still be safe from enemy cav, because usually an enemy cav build, like 14 urban, 6 Praetorians, will almost always win against a larger infantry build. It's not always the case though, but it's usually easier to do so. So that's why I'm in this formation. Polish Legion, his army consists of, I told him to bring 6 cav and put extra upgrades on him as well, because I knew I wasn't going to have many cav, so he needed to have good cav. So he's got 6 cav with extra upgrades, I believe, and then he's got a legionary first cohort and 13 urban cohorts. let's have a look at vet. Now he might have looked at my build in the, or at least my numbers in my list, when he was looking at my faction, and saw that I had higher numbers than usual. So he's only got 4 cavalry. So he's got 4 Praetorians, a first cohort, and the rest will be urbans. And then we have Paladin-Bob, who has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Praetorian cav and a first cohort, and the rest are urbans. So we have an infantry advantage, they have a cavalry advantage. We have 7 cavalry, they have 9 cavalry, so it's not actually a massive cavalry advantage. I was expecting them to have about 12 cavalry, to be honest, but they don't. So this is going to work well, because if they had more cavalry it would have put more work on our infantry, and we would have had to have made sure our infantry didn't become wasted, because basically if you're going to go the heavy infantry build but you end up wasting infantry, you're just going to lose. So you need to make sure you're using your infantry really intelligently, or more intelligently than usual. You'll be a bit more conservative with it. But if you have enough infantry to go into the battle and deal with enemy cavalry and you still have the numbers, you'll have the advantage because you started off with more infantry than the enemy. So the battle plan here was, I told Polish, I'll advance up and I will busy vet, and I'll try and keep him out of the fight, and I said you will engage Paladin-Bob and I'll support you with cavalry and some infantry if possible, if I'm not too busy trying to use them all to stop vet, and you're going to try and knock out Paladin. So he's going to be like the aggressive player on the left and I'll be the defensive holding player on the right, basically. As you can see here, Vet has put his Legionary first cohort up the front. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad idea. It's a wee bit risky because if you lose your Legionary first early in the game, it's going to do a bit of morale damage to all your units quite early on. But on another note, because it's a large unit of 122 men, it does throw more peeler than Urban Cohort. So there's more peeler getting thrown, so it's not a bad idea. Now, if I'd been him, what I would have done is I would have put 2 Urbans in front of this unit and then this one behind it, not in the front directly. That way it could still throw its peeler, but take less damage because the 2 Urbans in front would absorb more of the damage, which would be a better use. So what I'm going to do is I'm using several waves of peeler screens, because I'm going to use a lot of peeler screens and a lot of testudos in this fight and try and stall a Vet Plague and hold them in place, which is exactly what I need to do so that Polish has more time to attack. That's generally the battle plan that I had in mind. And I'll try and use my cav to help Polish as much as possible, because even 2 cav can be effective if you use them right. So I've got 2 units up here in regular formation, loose formation. They've got a 3rd one just behind them. So if we look up, we're also just advancing up. He's spreading his first cohort out, and it's just a steady advance. But we can see here that that Paladin-Bob's got a small section here that he's pulling off. Now, had we had normal cavalry numbers, like for instance I had 5 or 6 and Polish had 6, which he already does, we could have used an aggressive cavalry strike against his wing, which would destroy it because of the thinness of it. But because we've got only 7 cavalry, we need to be a bit more cautious in our cavalry use, because if we lose our cavalry too soon, we're going to lose this really fast. So I'm going to advance up here, and I'm going to start throwing peeler. He moves to kind of line up with me more directly, which means I'm going to get the first volleys of peeler off, which is good because I'm going to start doing more. If I get more volleys off first into his first cohort, it means it'll compensate for the numbers. So as you can see, by the time he starts throwing his peeler, this unit's already down to 83, which means he's lost his number advantage in the first cohort, which was great, because had I had to fight it at 123 peeler throwing at once and he got the first volleys, I'd lose a lot of men. So I'm going to testudo now, see if I can get him to just waste some peeler. And sometimes when you go to testudo, they take a long time to form it, which unfortunately was what's happening here. They're not moving properly into the testudo, which was a wee bit of a nuisance. Now what Polish Legion should be doing at this stage is he should be using some of these backlines to create a peeler version here, side peeler screen here, because you don't want to become outflanked, because if you do become outflanked, you guys suffer from a morale penalty, and that means when a cav charge comes through, they won't hold out as long. So you don't want to let yourself become outflanked too quickly. Now he does do this, however I had to tell him to do this because I don't think he was going to do it. But you should never let this happen to you if you can help it. Or what he could have done is refused his line back, but that would have slowed our plan down and made it more complicated. So it's better that he just creates another line. Now he's moving his general. He should leave his general in the back and move his other unit here. His general's quite vulnerable there to a cavalry charge or to Peeler, so he shouldn't do that. So as you can see, Paladin Bob's going to start advancing up here. He took the Peeler advantage, which is good for Bob, not for us. And he's just going to pull back, so he probably realised he's going to get into Peeler range. Over here, as you can see, I've gone into Testudo and I'm stopping Vet Plague from being able to hit me. Basically, he's got to do it all manually. He's got to manually select this unit, and then he's got to press backspace to stop them charging in, and he's got to do it all over again. So basically, this way, I'm having the advantage, and I can basically, if I can win the Peeler duel, I'll have the numbers to work with against his cavalry, which is good. And I should be able to win the Peeler duel because I have more infantry than him. Over here, as you can see, the Peeler duel is pretty even, probably slightly in Bob's favour. But he's starting, Horse Legion's starting to even it out. So he's going to rush up here, try and go to Testudo. I'm going to try and catch this unit before it can get into Testudo with my Peeler screens. Because I still got my own Testudos here, so any cav charge through to them will not work easily. However, Testudo will hold me up for a while here. He's going to be able to throw Peeler into these units as well. But I'm alright with that because again I've still got more infantry here in the back I can use to reinforce, and I want to try and keep my Peeler advantage if possible. So over here, as you can see, the Peeler battle is going Bob's way because you can see one of these urban cohorts, Polish Legion, is routing. It moves up here, and I'm going to put more guys in to throw Peeler. So I'm going to get some more really great shots and these guys are more quite tightly packed because I believe 2 units have crossed each other there. So I'm going to get lots of hits in there, which is good. So as you can see, I'm getting a lot of good Peeler damage in on Vet, which is great. At the moment I was more concerned about supporting Polish because Bob has been pretty aggressive and proactive, and of course now he's pushed his flank here and he's got the numbers on the flank. And with Vet having the extra cav, they can support this area here, so it allows Bob to have a thinner section in the middle so he can push on the flank here. So I just saw an opportunity just to get a quick strike in here, just to make sure that Polish Legion was winning that particular fight. Didn't necessarily need to rout, I just wanted him to win it. Then he comes through with his cav, and that again helps it along, but he needs to just quickly come out. We don't want to hang around there too long in case Bob throws Peeler into our cav there. As you can see, he's throwing more Peeler at Bob. Over here we're pushing up again. My first waves are starting to break, well not break, but they're getting beaten, but it's allowed me to throw extra Peeler, and I've still got my Testudos which I can break out at any point, and they'll hold up his infantry for a long time. So I'm going to throw some more Peeler here, however they threw it at the Testudo there. I didn't micromanage that very well. Got to watch that, because annoyingly in Rome Total War, or win these battles, the Urbans will always throw at the units in Testudo. It's stupid and annoying, but you have to do it manually to get them to fire at the units you want. So here the cav charge comes through, and it initially routes one of Polish Legion's guys, but I bring my cav in for a counter strike. Excuse me guys, and I get a rout going there. But I'm going to quickly get out before my Peeler can come in or Vet can come in to support. I'm going to peel off some infantry here to help Polish Legion, because he's getting pretty overwhelmed by a lot of cav there. He's going to pour his infantry in at this stage. Again, I'm just trying to keep my army stalling as much of Vets as possible and using my cav to run counter strikes. But as you can see, the combined cav strikes is taking the edge over Polish Legion. But we managed to catch quite a few of Bob's guys here sitting, and I managed to unload a whole lot of Peeler into all these units of Vets here and into Bob's units, and they're unopposed, so I'm going to get lots of Peeler thrown here and right into his flank nonetheless. So I'm going to do a lot of damage to these infantries. He's trying to outflank Polish Legion there. I want to try and break this section here, so I'm focusing here. The first cohort's here, so he should hold for a while under that, and I can reinforce this section over here with my infantry. But if we break this section, Paladin Bob will collapse on this side, which is good. So targeting either this wing or this unit section here is good for us. So I'm going to start throwing more Peeler. As you can see, my guys are holding here, and again he's throwing Peeler, but they're hitting my Testudo as well. So I mean, those Testudos are great because they can always block a lot of stuff. So here they're going to try and push through here. Few of Polish Legion's forces regrouped because several of them routed, but there's enough here holding. There's generals here, I need to be careful though. I'm going to start pulling off 3 units of my urban cohorts to come and help, and I'm going to start pulling more infantry this way, because as you can see, Vet is now putting several of his army there. He's going to push forward. I've still got good numbers here though, I've got lots of numbers in support. So I'm going to send my cav in here again, and I'll try and break through, try and get the first cohort, or some of these units around this area to rout. Reinforce this area because as you can see, Polish Legion lost all his infantry out on his right here, so I have to reinforce him. And then I'm going to send my general and my first cohort this way because I'm holding out nicely here. I've still got 6 units that I can pull into this fight here, which is good. And I've got enough infantry here, and we have got the cav advantage now. Interestingly, we actually managed to take the advantage in cavalry, which was good because it was a bit unexpected too, because we were at a disadvantage by 2 units, and we still managed to get the edge. So we're going to get a good charge through here, trying to get these units around here in the first cohort, which we got, which is great, and that caused a pretty substantial rout for Bob. He's got 3 guys routing there, and that's great. So I'm going to keep pulling this way, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send some of my urbans around and try and flank Plague, or Vet rather, and he's pushing forward here. And his guys kind of isolated here, trying to wrap around me, but I'm going to in turn wrap around him. And now Polish has won his section of the cav fight. I still got my cav here in support. So Polish is going to go around. He smashed the side, so what he needs to do now is come round and wrap in behind these 2. I'm going to reinforce my first cohort, but I'm going to try and keep my general and first cohort out for as long as I can, just so they can use support and actually the battle as much as I can keep them away. So he gets a charge in here, but it's not a great charge into the side of the general's unit. He's got himself trapped between Vet's cav and the general's unit. He needs to get his guys out now. Unfortunately for him, they rout. I'm going to get my cav around here, and I believe I'm going to try and hit the back of this unit here so I can free up this section so I can bring it round to wrap up the rest of their army over there. We're holding pretty good over here though as well though. My large infantry horde, I've got plenty of infantry everywhere, so I can keep reinforcing every section. I'm just going to tap my cav out, try and use it here. As you can see, I've got some routes going on this side. But in a moment, once I route a couple more, I'm going to start pulling units over here. So I charge my cavalry into here. Cav's pretty heavily depleted at this stage, but any little charges to the flank here will help. Between Polish and myself, it's pretty well tied up over this side. I'm wanting to try and free this side of the battle up though, because I've got quite a few urbans here. I've probably got 6 or so urbans here that I could bring like 3 or 4 of them over to this fight and hit them in the flank. He does manage to rout a couple of my urbans here. I have to peel this unit off here to stop him coming around my flank. Now I've got my own general's unit, and I'm going to try and kill Paladin-Bob's general here. A bit risky to put my general out the back like this, but there's not really any enemy cav left, or not enough to be a real threat, so I'm alright from that kind of threat at the moment. So we're going to try and get Paladin-Bob's general to rout. It's only got like 11 men left, so getting it to rout's a good idea at this stage. Bit of a quick cav charge there by Vet's last cav unit, but at 8 cav it's pretty depleted. Managed to break through here and they get a couple of routes going there, but we're holding pretty nicely in the centre. Paladin-Bob's general should rout in a moment, and when that happens, yeah, we kill his general, so that's good. His general routed, his other units will be closer to routing. So at this stage I see that I'm held up by just a couple of units over here, so I start just breaking this up because they need to get them over here, because it's still pretty even over here, but if I get these over here and into the back of Vet and Bob's forces, we should take this fight. Some nice close-up action of all our Romans fighting. So he's trying to storm me with infantry units here and try to pull back. I just basically ignore this side of the fight as much as I can, and I'm going to come into the flank here. So as you can see, Bob's forces are starting to rout because his general just died before, and now I'm getting these guys into here, and I've got his first cohort now. I'm going to kill his first cohort. It'll be really nasty for the whole lot of his army, or whatever's left of it. And as you can see, we're just mopping up what's left of these last forces, and everywhere it's starting to go into our favour now, because that's basically outflanked now because I've got my Brutii behind them at this stage. So there's no cav left, and as you can see, a couple more vets forces route, Bob's first cohort routes, and that will probably, I don't think Paladin Bob's got anything. He may have 1 or 2 units left, but I don't think he's got much left at this stage. And as you can see, the Scipii force, not Scipii rather, the Senate starts to route pretty big masses now, as you can see, over here and over here. I mean, I've still got the odd peeler left as well, which I was throwing it just then. And you can see we've got the other general as well. So that routes every last unit, and we take the victory. So it was a pretty close game, nice controlled, ordered battle, not too rapid, and I played a more sedate, defensive and stalling role this time. Usually I like to rush, but it's always good to mix up your strategy, just because it's good to practice our strategy so you have more options as well, and you don't want to become predictable. So I come away with top kills with 1,568. Polish Legion comes away with 1,323, Vet with 1,343, and Bob with 1,178. So a very close game. Everyone's got good scores. But that in this fight, because we were able to deal with that enemy cavalry effectively, and they weren't able to take advantage of their cavalry numbers, we were able to. I think they had 4 and 5, so yeah, they had 9 cav to our 7. I think so. It wasn't a massive advantage on their part, but it is enough to do it. But we probably had a higher infantry advantage than they had a cavalry advantage, and we're able to use that infantry to get the edge. So if we look here, my Praetorian cav did really well actually. Only for 2 cav, they got over 200 between the two of them, so I was pleased with that result. But mostly my infantry did the work. Lots of stalling on my side and supporting where it was needed, and it came together nicely. So great game to you, everyone. I'll link Polish Legions and Paladin Bob's channel in the descriptions. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave comments. Tell me what you think. It'd be much appreciated. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you soon next time.